All right, Alex Frank here for the Milk and Cookies podcast. We will be filming tomorrow. I will be joining Anthony Fiorentino, Alex Sardinas, and Leon Parker. Until then, though, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I know that there's a lot of talk about how the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game. I clearly want the narrative to be that the Bengals won the AFC Championship game because I do believe they did. But unfortunately, there's a lot of talk about how the Chiefs lost the game given the way they played in the second half. And they just looked uncharacteristically bad. They were uncharacteristically not themselves. They weren't that high-flying offense. Patrick Mahomes looked inept in the second half. The Chiefs, outside of one possession where they got 3 points, did not cross the 50-yard line. And Patrick Mahomes committed not one, but 2 turnovers, almost 3. So, I was thinking about this yesterday. There are teams throughout the history of the NFL, and they're a lot recent. And I can probably go back to, I know I can go as far back as 1990. There are teams who have lost games over the years that either potentially prevented them that potentially prevented them from becoming a dynasty. And they were never the same after that. Outside of the New England Patriots, who won 6 Super Bowls in 18 years. And they took their share of devastating losses along the way. But yet they always bounced back because they were the exception to the norm in the NFL. But look at teams like the Chiefs. So the Chiefs won the Super Bowl in 2019. And they were arguably better in 2020. They won 2 more games in the regular season. They handled the Bills in the AFC Championship game. They go to the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. They have 3 more wins than them. Yes, it's technically a road game for them, and yet here is Tampa Bay. Or here's Kansas City, and they lose to Tampa Bay, and they lose badly. 31-9. And although they did get back to the AFC Championship game this year, although they won 8 straight games at one point this season after a slow start, I don't know if Kansas City has ever fully been the same since that Super Bowl loss. They have not been invincible. They have not been unbeatable. They are very beatable. They are very beatable. For as much as Patrick Mahomes has figured out how to combat when teams play too high safeties and prevent the deep passes, yes, he got comfortable taking those simple underneath routes, but how many deep shots did you see Mahomes take in that game on Sunday? You didn't see a lot of it. You did not see a lot of it. So, the Chiefs have not been the same since losing the Super Bowl. I don't know what the future holds for them. Patrick Mahomes is locked up for the next 8 years. Or, I think it's, 8 years. And he's going to be around for a long time. The Chiefs, I do believe, will win another Super Bowl. But they're not the same. They are not what they used to be. They are very beatable. They looked that way earlier this season when they lost by 18 at home to Buffalo, when they lost by 24 on the road to Tennessee. The Bengals beat them twice. Denver nearly beat them in the final week of the regular season. Pittsburgh hung with them through much of the first half in the wild card round. Buffalo should have beaten them, and then the Bengals ultimately did again in the AFC Championship game. I don't know if Kansas City will ever get back to a Super Bowl, but if you need any historical proof, think about these teams. Let's go back to 1997. Let's go there first. So the Green Bay Packers with Brett Favre, who's one of the all-time great quarterbacks. I think Joe Burrow has some Brett Favre in him. So the Green Bay Packers win the Super Bowl in 1996. They go back the following year. They're huge favorites against the Denver Broncos. But what happens? Denver wins the game. And the Packers, and Brett Favre at that point, had played 6 seasons. 6 seasons. Brett Favre never made it back to the Super Bowl. The Packers could have had back-to-back world championships. They could have been they could have started a dynasty, and they never went back. Denver won 2 straight. Once John Elway retired, they've only been back to the Super Bowl twice. Okay? Let's go to the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Look at the playmakers they had. Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. And they only went to the Super Bowl twice. They won it in 1990. They lose to New England as 14-point favorites. And they never made it back. Matter of fact, sure, they made the playoffs in 2003 and 2004, but that's it. They ended up losing more games in a 4-year stretch than any team in NFL history. That's what devastating losses in the NFL playoffs, late in the playoffs, can do for you. Okay? Let's think about the Patriots. And I know they eventually won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, which followed 3 Super Bowls in 4 years in the 2000s. In the 2010s, they won 3 and 5. But their loss to the Giants in Super Bowl 42. Their loss to the Giants. They were 18-0. That would have been their 4th Super Bowl title in 7 years. Brady would have cemented his status as the GOAT right there and then. They would have been 19-0, greatest team in Super Bowl history. Or in NFL history. They lost. What happens after that? Brady gets hurt. In 2008, the Patriots missed the postseason, albeit barely, but still missed it. They don't win another playoff game until the 2011 season. So following that devastating Super Bowl loss, they did not win a playoff game until 2011. The Patriots were just another team in the NFL. That's what they were. All right? Think about the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints won the Super Bowl in 2009. Have not been back. Matter of fact, 2010, they're 12-4, Seattle 7-9. The Beastquake game. New Orleans struggled to get back to the NFC Championship game. Here's the thing. Drew Brees only appeared in one more NFC Championship game. Let alone a playoff, let alone a Super Bowl. The Packers have not been back to the Super Bowl. They lost as a 15-1 team to the Giants in 2011 in the divisional round. That Giants team was 9-7. They had a negative point differential. The Packers have not been back to the Super Bowl since. Okay? Let's think about... So when I say the Chiefs... Oh, by the way, there's another example here. Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks lose to New England on one of the worst play calls in the history of the NFL. They have not been back to the Super Bowl since. They have not been back to the NFC Championship game since. They've only won 2 division titles. Yes, they've made the playoffs a handful of times. I'll give them that. But they have not been back to the NFC Championship game since. That could have been the start of a dynasty. Players have since left that team. Core players. The only one who remains that I can think of is Russell Wilson. Think about that. Teams that go through devastating losses, or tough losses, or humiliating losses, sometimes never get back to the top, the pinnacle. And that is what I'm fearing is going to happen to the Bengals if they are to win the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. My fear is, because I think they are going to be around for a long time, they can go back to the Super Bowl easily next year. That is my belief, that they have the team to do it again next year. So let's say the Bengals win the Super Bowl this year. And then they get back to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl next year. and they have a loss that's devastating, that's humiliating, that's whatever, just bad. My fear is it'll be so bad they may never get back. And so we think about the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and their defense, which improved over the course of the season. And we think about where they were when they won the Super Bowl, which was the best team in the NFL. They went 14-2 the next year. I thought they could have gone 20-0. Or 19-0, excuse me. Now you have to go 20-0. I thought that the Chiefs were the best team in the NFL. Matter of fact, I picked them to win the Super Bowl this year. So, they now, since winning the Super Bowl, have lost to Tampa Bay, humiliating fashion. And then this year, they were, at times, vulnerable, human. They started out 3-4. And yes, they won 8 straight games. But think about what they did throughout the postseason. And then when they lost to the Bengals, they're up 14-0. Against any other team and any other year, maybe prior to the Super Bowl last year, they probably run away with that game. But they haven't done that yet. They haven't done that. They lost to the Bengals. They should have lost to Denver. Now, winning teams and winning franchises make winning plays. Melvin Ingram with the forced fumble on Melvin Gordon in the regular season finale. That's a winning play right there. I'll give them credit for that. The Chiefs then blow out Pittsburgh because they should have. And they did. The Buffalo game was, okay, that's a winning team. That's a team that's been there before that made more plays. And yes, got lucky with the coin toss. But we're seeing that the Chiefs are vulnerable. How many teams around the NFL fear the Chiefs? If you're the Bengals, you don't fear them. If you're the Bills, you don't fear them. If you're the Chargers, you don't fear them. The Chargers beat them this year and could have beaten them the second time. Teams that go through devastating losses or humiliating losses that potentially ruined the opportunity to start a dynasty. It sometimes is so weighing on a team that they don't ever get back to where they were. The Rams never did. The Packers never did. And even the 49ers. Go back to 1991, like I said at the outset I was going to do. The Niners won back-to-back Super Bowls in 88 and 89. 1990, they're in the NFC Championship game for the third straight year. They're facing the New York Giants. And, the 49ers, I think they had their bags already packed for a trip to Tampa Bay for the Super Bowl. It was either that or the equipment team already had everything packed. They were so confident. Well, what happened? The Giants beat them 15-13. And yes, the 49ers did ultimately get back to the Super Bowl in 1994. They have been back twice since. But that could have been, if the Niners got to the Super Bowl and won, that would have been their 5th Super Bowl title in 10 years. 5 in 10 years. So winning, yes, as Paul Brown says, winning makes believers in us all. But winning can also cause arrogance, it can cause overconfidence, it can cause a lot of things that aren't healthy to a team. And it can be a downfall. Those teams I just mentioned got overconfident and cocky. It wasn't a healthy cockiness or a healthy arrogance. And the Chiefs may be like that. And Patrick Mahomes, I don't think is an overconfident, cocky, arrogant player. I think he's a otherworldly talented player. But since that Super Bowl last year, he has proven that he is too human. And now, for the first time since 2018, he will be at home watching the Super Bowl. So while the narrative of the AFC Championship should be that the Bengals came back from down 18 in the second half and made some great adjustments on defense, and Joe Burrow made some absolutely clutch throws and plays, and Evan McPherson is the greatest clutch kicker in who knows when. The Chiefs did uncharacteristically look bad in the second half. And I'm wondering if losing the Super Bowl last year zapped a lot of their mojo, their confidence, their edge. And that's something that we're going to talk about on the next edition of the Milk and Cookies podcast. Yours truly will join Anthony Fiorentino, Leon Parker, and Alex Sardinas tomorrow. Recapping all the action from Conference Championship Week, the Bengals beating the Chiefs, the Rams coming back to beat the 49ers, and Super Bowl 56 is set. We have a matchup. The Bengals are the home team despite playing in the Rams' own stadium, which is SoFi Stadium in LA. The Rams, the NFC champions, back in the Super Bowl for the second time in 4 years. And it's funny because Alex asked us all this question after week 1. Which team outside of our favorite teams were we most excited to watch this upcoming season? And my answer was the LA Rams. And now here we are. My favorite team, the Bengals, is going up against the team that I answered that question to in week 1, the LA Rams, in the Super Bowl. It's going to be fun. The Super Bowl, of course, February 13th, 6:30 on NBC. And the four of us will be back tomorrow to recap the action from Conference Championship Week and look ahead to Super Bowl 56. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.